Welcome back to this episode of the Minding My Temple podcast with me, your host, Tasha Temple. This week's topic is what the gut. Yes, I said what the gut, like all up in them guts. Now, I don't know how old you guys are that are listening, but that is a musical reference point. And if you don't know what that is, you need to go check it out because it's a pillar in my lifetime, that song was. So y'all know, if you know, you know. What's that thing, the acronym IKY? If you know, you know, right? I don't even know if I got that right, but you guys get what I'm saying. That little acronym they use on social media. Anyway, today we're going to talk all about your gut health because it's so important. And I want you guys to know how to navigate through your gut health to make sure that you have a healthy gut. And if you don't, how to get there. Or if you're having challenges, how to navigate through those challenges. And so we're going to talk all about your gut today. But first, you guys know I've got to jump into my segment that I absolutely love called Minding My Business. Now, yes, I really encourage everyone to mind their own daggone business. However, this segment is really designed for you to incorporate some self-care into your life every week. So it's really important that we actually tend to ourselves and take care of ourselves. And that's why I like this segment so much, is because I get to share with you guys what I'm doing this week to nourish myself and to navigate through taking care of myself. So this week, what I'm up to mind my business is I am traveling. So for those of you guys who have been following me and are familiar with the platform, I have 4 pillars I like to stand upon. That's meals, movement, mindfulness, and migrating. And I use migrate as an acronym, not an acronym, as a synonym. That's right, a synonym for for traveling, because it all has to go together, right? Like minding my temple is an M, then you got meals, movement, mindfulness, and migrate. And so this week I am traveling, or migrating as I would like to call it, and I'm taking a trip to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Arriba. Is that what you say? No, that's not arriba, right? No. Hola. How about hola? How about that one? And I'm taking a family trip with my mom and one of my mom's sisters and my mom's sister's husband and my cousin and his girlfriend, and then my auntie, my mom's sister's best friend, and her husband. Anyway, so I'm really looking forward to it because for my mom and her sister's friend and my cousin, this is the first time they have traveled since the beginning of the pandemic. So they are finally getting an opportunity to mind their business because it's really important for their quality of health to travel. They're travel nuts, and they typically take some kind of big trip every year. Actually, they travel to Mexico every year in addition to taking some kind of big international trip. So over the past 2 years, it's been kind of sad for them because they have not been able to get out and travel, and they're in their retirement years. And so traveling is something that's really important to them. And so I'm really excited to be able to experience Mexico with them and then experience that with them in COVID. So they get a sense of normalcy and comfort in traveling in a life where we now have a pandemic. So I'm really excited about going to Mexico. So yes, if you guys don't know, I'm a tequila drinker, so I'm going to be all on the tequila tasting and all of that because, again, life is about balance. So I'm going to be eating, I'm going to be drinking, I'm going to be laying in the sun, I'm going to be having some fun, and that's what I'm up to mind my business this week. I'll definitely post all about my travel so you guys can see what I'm up to. I'll give you tips on where I ate and what I did, and just so you guys can just bask in the fun with me. So catch me outside, okay? Now, it's interesting that I'm talking about traveling as what I'm up to this week and our gut health, because a lot of times when we're traveling, concerns come up about our stomach and whether or not we're gonna get sick or not. A lot of times we go to different places and we try different foods that we normally have not tried. Sometimes depending on where we travel, there might be, conditions with water and cooking and things like that. And oftentimes we might have a stomach upset and experience things like that while we're out of town. So this information can be really important also when you're traveling, because I'm going to tell you how to navigate through all those things that could come up with your stomach issues, not only while you're out of town, but it could be helpful and also every day. So let's get into these guts. Yeah, I know I'm being childish with the word gut today, but it just got me on a roll. So we getting in them guts, okay? So let's really talk about it and get down to the nitty gritty. Now, there are a couple of terms for your gut. We're going to start talking about your digestive health, which includes your gut, your look, I can't even say it. Your GI tract, your gastrointestinal, okay, I got it right, gastrointestinal tract, or your digestive tract, which is where all your food passes through. So of course, since I'm the food expert, I like to talk about how that food moves through your body and how it can affect and impact your body. So let's start off where your GI tract or your digestive tract even starts. So let's think about it. Where do you think your digestive tract starts? It actually starts in your mouth. So your digestive tract starts in your mouth, and that's where you start to chew your food, and that's where the beginning or origin of all that digestive health starts. So the next place is you have this swallowing tube, and we call that your esophagus, where all your food travels through next. Now, the esophagus doesn't really do that much, but once it goes through the esophagus, it's going to get into your stomach. Now, your stomach is designed to break up whatever food you didn't quite chew very well in your mouth and turn your food into a liquid so it can be absorbed further along into your digestive tract. So let's go back. We start in the mouth where we're chewing up our food. We have all those little taste buds going. We have all those little enzymes that are getting ready to digest whatever's coming later. So once you finish that chewing in the mouth, it moves down through your esophagus and then hits your stomach, where your stomach then turns the food into a liquid so that it can be absorbed. Now you're wondering, well, where does it go after that? Once it goes past your stomach, it goes into your small intestine. And in your small intestine is where the food starts to be absorbed into the body so that it can be used for nutrients and for fuel for the body. And so what happens is you have these cilia, these finger-like, just finger-like things that are moving along on that digestive tract. And what happens is the liquid covers those finger-like cilia. I don't have any other words to say it. And so once it goes down to that, it starts to be absorbed into the body or into the bloodstream, and that's how it is used for fuel. So that's not also where it starts. Some of the food gets absorbed, but then some of it doesn't, right? Like then you have what your body starts to create as waste. So whatever your body doesn't absorb and doesn't use, it then moves in and through the large intestine where you have the end portion of your GI tract, and that's really your guts. So that last part of your intestinal tract, or the large intestine, we also call it your colon, is the end part, and that's really the gut. That's where the nitty gritty and the meaty stuff is. And so your gut absorbs water, it absorbs minerals, and that's where you start to form your stool or waste, but it contains a lot of bacteria, which is a good thing. So overall, your GI tract is designed to digest the food that we eat. It's designed to absorb the nutrients and then use those nutrients as fuel to maintain the body and what you do on a regular basis. But here's why the gut is important, okay? So in addition to digesting food and absorbing nutrients, it communicates with your brain. You're like, well, why does my gut communicate with my brain? Like, what is going on there? Well, it plays telephone between influencing your immune activity. You're like, well, how does my gut tell my brain about my immunity? I'll tell you in a second. It also helps with GI muscle contraction. So whenever you eat, your muscles contract to move the food through. That's how it works. So the muscles are constantly contracting to push and move the food from the mouth down all the way to the colon and out, right? And even in that motion, we call that the thermic effect of food, and it also is burning calories. So as you're eating and as food is moving through your body, you're burning calories. But that's also why the gut is important. So in addition to that, it helps with fluid secretions and of course to get the waste out of the body. But your gut is the key player in your immune function. Yes, if you're wondering like, where do I start to build my immune system? It's not taking vitamin C. It's not taking zinc. It's not taking elderberry. all of that is not where you start when we're talking about your immunity, because 70% of your immunity is found in your gut. So you got to think about like, if I'm getting sick a lot, I might want to rethink actually what I'm putting inside my body and inside my gut. And the reason why your immunity is found mostly in your gut, because that's where all your bacteria live. I know you're thinking like, bacteria, do I want bacteria? You absolutely do want bacteria in your intestinal tract, because it's that bacteria that recognizes other bacteria or then kills the bad bacteria. Yes. So on our bodies, on our skin, in our digestive tract, bacteria lives there regularly because we have good bacteria that kills the stuff that makes us sick. And all of that lives, or 70% of it lives, in your gut. So you do want to make sure that your gut is healthy, because it is solely responsible for your ability to fight off infection and fight off disease. Who would have thunk? All up in them guts, right? Your immunity is found all up in them guts. And so one thing that's really important when we're talking about our gut is the food we eat, because naturally that's what passes through there all the time. So it's really important to have balanced eating habits so that you can get an array of different bacteria in your gut so that you can fight off a lot of infection and diseases and things of that nature. And not only does the bacteria help with fighting off diseases, but that same bacteria helps you to break your food down. Imagine having a gut that's off in regards to the bacteria that live there and not be able to break certain foods down. And then you find yourself, having issues with eating certain foods or moving that food through the system, or things or complications like, let me tell you some complications. So most common problems in the gut are the following. Constipation. Yep, I'm raising my hand. I know it's embarrassing to admit, but yep, constipation is one thing I have a challenge with. So another problem out of the gut is going to be diarrhea. Another problem is GERD. And another word for GERD is acid reflux or heartburn. How many of y'all got heartburn? Raise your hand. I don't, but hey, it doesn't feel good from what I understand. Also, gas and bloating. You have IBS. You have ulcers. There's so many things that happen in the digestive tract and complications that occur. We want to make sure that we're putting the right foods in our body so that we're not experiencing constipation. We're not experiencing diarrhea. We're not experiencing acid reflux and heartburn. We're not experiencing gas and bloating. We're not experiencing ulcers, or we're not experiencing IBS. And there are so many more conditions that cause us to get discomfort just because of what we're putting in our mouth. So yes, to some degree, these conditions need medications, but for the most part, if we're navigating through a balanced lifestyle, we can eliminate or simply reduce the symptoms of experiencing any of these things that happen in the gut. So let's talk about how to navigate through mitigating those challenges and those problems. And I'm going to start with constipation, all right? Because I raised my hand on that one. I'm sorry, y'all, that's TMI. But I'm going to be honest with you guys, because again, I'm simply out here living my life as a human being just like you all. Just because I have the knowledge doesn't mean I don't then experience the same challenges. So I definitely want to be honest and transparent that, yeah, I've had problems with constipation. It actually is a family trait. So we have a family history of it, of slow moving digestive tract, whatever stuff going on. So yeah. And I'll tell you how I navigated through it, but here. So if you're having constipation, you need to ask yourself two things. Am I drinking enough water, and do I have enough fiber? Now, the reason why you need water is to move that food through the system and quickly, because remember I said the stomach turns your food into a liquid. So what better than water to create more liquid, right? And again, I'm going to always tell you guys, the amount of water you need a day is half your body weight. So take your body weight, divide that by 2, and that's how many ounces of water you need every day. That's going to help you to relieve some constipation. Typically, when I talk to people, the number one thing that they need to do to relieve their constipation has been water. However, there are other complications, but usually it's water's the culprit. The second thing you want to look at if you're experiencing constipation is fiber. Do I have enough fiber in my system? So fiber typically comes from vegetables. and fruit, and then also whole grains like whole wheat bread, brown rice, quinoa, oatmeal. So fiber is one of those substances that's found naturally in naturally grown food, again, like vegetables, fruits, and then your whole grains. And what it does is it sends the stuff through the system, okay? So it gets into your stomach and it gets with that liquid and it creates this big glob to move through the system. So once you have this big glob of fiber that's, mixed with the water, it's gonna move through that small and large intestines. So it's gonna move through them guts. And guess what it's gonna do? It's gonna pick up all the debris and all the bad stuff along the sides that can't really ever be picked up so that we can get a lot of that stuff out of the way. But here's the catch. The only way fiber works is if you have enough water. So please don't increase your fiber if you don't have enough water, okay? So the recommendation is to have, for women, 35 grams of fiber per day, and for men, 28. And you guys already know my water recommendations. I talk about them all the time. That's constipation. So number 2, if you're experiencing diarrhea, because that's also a challenge for some people, if you're having diarrhea, we want to bulk up that stool, and we got to remember to keep you hydrated. So one thing that they've done for the test of time is followed what they call the BRAT diet when you're having diarrhea. The BRAT diet, spelled as you know, B-R-A, I'm the B-R-A-T, her name Missy. Y'all know that song too? Like all these song references. Anyway, it's the BRAT diet, B-R-A-T. It stands for banana, rice, applesauce, and toast. Now, you don't have to necessarily do specifically those 4 things, but you do want to make sure you focus on soft fruits if you're having diarrhea. So bananas and applesauce are softer fruits. You want to try to do rice. And the reason they say rice is you want to have your low fiber based grains. So instead of having brown rice and whole wheat bread, like I mentioned with constipation, you actually want to do like the white rice and saltine crackers and white bread when you're having diarrhea, because we want stuff that's going to be softer on the system. Fiber's a little hard and rough, so we want to make sure that we're like making things a little easier on the stomach. So that's bananas, rice, applesauce, and then toast. Again, that's that white bread or that non-starchy based fiber product that's going to help ease the discomfort of the diarrhea. You can also try some steamed vegetables. Just make sure that whatever vegetable you find that you do cook it if you're having diarrhea, because remember, we want things to be soft. And make sure you're repleting your liquids. You need to make sure you hydrate yourself. So you want to make sure you drink water, but you want to also make sure you have some electrolytes. I often tell people be careful about Gatorade. Gatorade is made for athletes, okay? Like ones that play on a football field on a Sunday for 4 hours, or people that play in a basketball game for 2 to 4 hours at a time. It's not really made for your average person because it's very high in calories, it's very high in sugar, but that's designed to give people energy when they're doing high-based energy activities. So the regular everyday person does not need a Gatorade. So if you're looking for repletion, I simply tell people put a little salt in your water. That's easy, right? Yeah. Or try to get something with a 0. So like a Gatorade 0 would be appropriate if you're looking for some flavor. Okay, so try that if you're having diarrhea. Let's jump into acid reflux and heartburn, because I know it hurts, y'all. I know it feels like some people even feel like they're having a heart attack. But if you're having acid reflux, here's the thing that's most important. Being at a healthy weight, because a lot of times that weight sits in that esophagus, and that's where, or that swallowing tube I talked about earlier, and that weight gets heavy on that, and it can sit and make it feel like it's encapsulating or it's closing, and that could feel like that heartburn or stuff is coming back up through that system. Also, if you're a smoker, discontinue smoking, because again, that esophagus is being used, and that's what happens, when you're having that, like when you have all that stuff going in and out of your esophagus, it can cause acid reflux as well. If you're having acid reflux, you might want to elevate yourself in the bed while you're sleeping so that you're not completely laying down and your food comes back up through the digestive tract. We don't want that. But one big thing that's important for acid reflux is you need to be eating slowly. So try to chew your food up really, really well and take small bites and take your time. because pushing that food down all at once, sometimes the intestinal tract or your GI tract gets overwhelmed, and so that food comes back up, and that could cause acid reflux. But if you're also having acid reflux, try not to lay down within 2 hours of eating. So try to eat and wait at least 2 to 4 hours before you lay down so that your food can settle really well. But here are some foods to eat if you're experiencing acid reflux. So add these foods if you're experiencing acid reflux. You want to add vegetables, oatmeal, fruit that's not citrus, fruits that are not citrus, lean meats, seafood, and healthy fats like avocado, olives, and nuts. Okay? Now here's what you need to avoid if you're experiencing acid reflux. Do not eat high-fat foods, specifically like fast food or fried food or, those packaged high-calorie foods like chips and things like that. So foods that are high in fat take a long time to move through your digestive tract. So the longer the food is in your digestive tract, the more ability it has to come back up and feel like it's coming back towards that heart area, and that's what causes that burn and that acid reflux. All right, you want to try to avoid tomatoes and high citrus fruit. So high citrus fruit are things like oranges and strawberries, right? Yep, lemon, lime. You also want to avoid chocolate. I know, I'm sorry. I love chocolate so much. You want to try to also avoid mint, garlic, onion, and spicy food. Now, another one I want to navigate through is gas and bloating, because I get gas and I get bloating. We all do. Don't be ashamed. But the best thing to navigate through your gas and bloating is to eat smaller portions. So try not to overload your system. We're overfilling our tanks, and what happens is, just like when you overfill your gas tank at the gas pump, the gas comes back out. The same thing happens when you overfill your gas tank in the body. The gas comes back out, either in acid reflux or the other direction, okay? But one thing that can help with gas and bloating and stomach issues is ginger. So what I typically do is I buy some ginger at the store and I cut it up. So a whole bunch of ginger, I cut it up and I put it in a big pot of water and I boil it to make ginger tea. That can be really soothing for the stomach. Or you can get little ginger candies, that can be helpful. Or you can buy a ginger tea bag out of the store. But ginger is really helpful in easing gas, bloating, and stomach issues and challenges. Also, one big thing that's going to be important for 1, constipation, and 2, gas and bloating is get your tail out and move. When you move more, the food moves through your system faster and it starts to move through the system, right? And that helps with all of that digestive stuff that goes on, because your heart rate starts to get up, your blood starts to flow, and those juices start to go and everything starts to move. So get out there and move. Remember, when you're moving, you want to try to move for at least 30 minutes, 5 days a week. And if you have gas and bloating, try to stay away from your carbonated beverages, okay? Now, lastly, because I didn't talk specifically about IBS, but one thing that's important when we're talking about making sure we try to renew our gut or get our gut to a healthy place, especially with the gut bacteria that helps to move all of our food through the system, is you want to think about probiotics. I know you probably have heard a lot about this lately, but probiotics are the opposite of an antibiotic, right? It actually gives you good bacteria to help with the bacteria that's in your gut, so it can help improve immune function. It can also help improve the way your body is moving the food through your system, because we want to make sure that the food goes in, it's whatever we need is absorbed, and whatever we don't need comes out. And that's the whole purpose of having a probiotic, and it helps with that gut flora or that gut bacteria. So here's how probiotics work. So probiotics are bacteria that help to move your food through the system. And it's basically, you can find it in foods or you can get a supplement over the counter. So some foods that have probiotics in them would be like Greek yogurt or kefir. It's a drink you can find in the store. You can drink kombucha. Things that are fermented are going to have live and active probiotic cultures in them. If you're looking for a supplement over the counter, make sure it has billions of cultures and make sure you store it in the way that it states on the packaging. So if it asks you to put it in the refrigerator, put it in the refrigerator. If not, you can set it at room temperature. But make sure you buy something that has a bunch of different words you don't understand or don't know that look like bacteria, because you want to have a bunch of different bacteria, because if the more you have, the more diverse your gut's going to be. So the more ability you have to fight off so many different other bad bacteria, right? And so again, you can find these over the counter. You can get a supplement, or you can start adding in foods that have probiotics in them. However, here's the catch. When you have probiotics, you need prebiotics. You're like, what's that? So a prebiotic is the food for the probiotic. Now think Pac-Man. Now, I don't know how old y'all are, but I know y'all know who Pac-Man is, right? So you have Pac-Man, consider Pac-Man as the probiotic. And remember, they go around and eat those little pellets. The little pellets are the food that make that little Pac-Man bigger. You know how he grows every time he goes and That's the food for the probiotic. So it makes the probiotic bigger, and it makes it able to eat the other bad bacteria. So you know those little ghost men that were rolling around? The ghost men in Pac-Man are the bad bacteria. So the more Pac-Mans we have and the bigger Pac-Mans we have, they can eat more of the ghost men. And that's how it works. So you're wondering, like, what are prebiotics in regards to food? So your food prebiotics are like fiber. So think about that. Remember I said fiber is helpful in constipation. Fiber is helpful in creating a better bacteria or better bacterial flora in your system. So you want to include foods that have fiber. Fiber feeds the probiotic. It gives you more probiotic and gives you bigger probiotics. And that's the goal, is we want to make sure that we have bigger and better probiotics. And what feeds those is the prebiotics, which are foods with fiber. Remember, your best sources of fiber are going to be vegetables or fruit, and specifically fruit with the skin on, and then your whole grains like brown rice or whole wheat pasta or whole wheat bread or quinoa or oatmeal. Now, I take a supplement over the counter to help with my constipation. Now, I'm going to show you what it is. So I take a brand called Plexus, and I take two options. So I take a pre and a probiotic. I take something called ProBio 5, and I take another product called BioCleanse, meaning it helps to cleanse out the system. They have worked really well for me. I take them with water every single morning. And so I, like I said, have constipation. It has allowed me to use the bathroom daily, which is something I didn't do before, so thank God. If you have questions, just click on my link. I'll give you more information about how to get them if you want them. And the only reason I'm telling you about these is because I actually use them. So I use the Plexus ProBio 5 and the Plexus BioCleanse, okay? You check out my video, you can actually see them. However, that's all I got to get all up in your guts today on the Minding My Temple podcast. Please, you guys, make your gut health important. It's really imperative, especially now that we're living through this pandemic. You want to make sure you get your immunity up. You want to make sure that your body's utilizing all the good nutrients that can break all that food down on a regular basis. And if you have any questions about anything, just reach out to me. My email address is findbalance@mindingmytemple.com. You can always slide into my DMs on my Instagram, and I can be found on Instagram at mindingmytemple. And you can always find me here every week on the Minding My Temple podcast, giving you all the information on meals, movement, mindfulness, and migrating. And other than that, y'all have an amazing week, and I'll be back with you guys next week to give you more information. Thank you guys. Peace. All up in them goods.